In a galaxy ruled by greed, one human stood against the corporation to protect a fragile alien people and was given the chief's daughter in return. Now listen to the story.
Oliver Connicade wiped the back of his grease-stained hand across his brow, leaving a dark streak on his tan forehead. The sun above this world was merciless, a pale green disk that bathed the rocky plateau in a constant haze of heat. He crouched near the atmospheric regulator, tightening one of the bolts with the same precision he had once reserved for high-end machinery on Jupiter's orbital ring. Now, instead of working in climate-controlled hangars with polished floors, he labored under alien skies with sandstorms threatening to strip the flesh from his bones. Just 3 months ago, Oliver had been respected as a skilled mechanic, the kind supervisors relied upon to solve problems other engineers couldn't. He had friends in the orbital station's break rooms, a steady paycheck, and dreams of saving enough credits to buy his own small ship. Then the Recti Corporation happened. They bought up contracts, shifted personnel around like pawns, and reassigned him to what everyone called a backwater assignment. What had once been a promising career became exiled to a mining world on the edge of mapped space. The planet itself was a place no sane human would have chosen voluntarily. Its soil was the color of dried blood, a rusty red that seemed to drink in the heat and radiate it back in shimmering waves. Twisted vegetation gnarled like claws sprouted between jagged rocks. To Oliver's eye, it looked like a world perpetually on fire, even though no flames burned. The thin air was breathable, but barely, and only after constant cycling through atmospheric filters. Without the regulators he now worked on, entire crews of miners would suffocate in less than an hour. "Connicade, you finished with that regulator, yeah?" The bellow came from across the landing pad. Foreman Drax, one of the Centauran overseers, stomped forward on his 4 heavy legs. Each step shook the ground like a war drum. His leathery gray hide glistened with a layer of oil secreted to protect him from the harsh light. His 4 arms gestured impatiently, 2 crossed in front of his barrel chest, while the other pair waved toward Oliver like swatting away an insect. "Almost," Oliver replied, his deep voice caring. "But you might want to hold the extraction schedule. The readings don't look right." Drax's eyes narrowed, 4 pupils contracting to slits. "We're on a timeline, human. The extraction team starts blasting tomorrow." Oliver held up his diagnostic pad, pointing at the glowing numbers. "These atmospheric samples show traces of complex carbon compounds. And these energy signatures?" He gestured toward the distant purple-red mountain range, its jagged peaks clawing at the pale green sky. "They're too regular to be natural. Something's out there." "Spare me the science lecture," Drax snarled. 2 of his hands waved dismissively, the other pair tightening against his chest. "Recti paid good money for the mineral rights to this rock. Your job is to fix equipment, not play xenobiologist." The Centauran lumbered away, leaving Oliver alone with the hum of machinery. Yet the human's gaze lingered on the mountains. Instinct told him something was wrong. He had learned long ago to trust his instincts. They had kept him alive when faulty compressors nearly exploded, when miswired conduits threatened to electrocute entire repair teams, when untrustworthy colleagues tried to cut corners. And his instincts now screamed that this uninhabited planet was anything but empty. That night, long after the last shuttle of miners had returned to their quarters, Oliver sat alone in the maintenance hangar. His diagnostic pad displayed the same anomalous readings, irregular pulses of energy emanating from deep within the mountain range. He considered reporting them, but he knew exactly what would happen. The corporation thrived on suppressing inconvenient data. Reports would disappear. Equipment would be accidentally corrupted. The mountains would be blasted apart, and whatever lived there, if anything, would be buried under tons of rubble. He set his jaw. He had never been much of a gambler, but he was about to take a risk that could change his life forever. The following evening, Oliver borrowed one of the company's single-person skimmers. Technically, the vehicle was reserved for official survey work, but his badge still carried enough clearance for unsupervised access. He justified it to himself with a muttered, "Better to ask forgiveness than permission." The skimmer rose smoothly, humming as it lifted above the dusty pad. In moments, the mining outpost shrank behind him, swallowed by distance in the red haze of dust storms. The landscape shifted as he approached the mountains. The rust-colored soil gave way to dark rock that jutted upward like broken teeth. Strange plants clung to crevices, their bioluminescent roots glowing faintly as night crept across the sky. Oliver navigated into a narrow canyon where his sensors began picking up strong readings. Energy spikes danced across the skimmer's screen patterns, too precise to be random geological anomalies. And then he saw them. At first, Oliver thought they were children scrambling along the cliff walls. Small humanoid figures no taller than 4 feet move with incredible agility across ledges that seemed barely wide enough to hold them. But as he enhanced the skimmer's visual feed details, sharpened slender adults with skin the luminous blue of Earth's summer skies, eyes large and reflective, bodies graceful yet sturdy. "Holy hell," Oliver whispered. The canyon walls themselves revealed more openings in the rock face that led to carved pathways lit by faint internal glows. What he had assumed to be natural erosion was in fact deliberate design, an entire city sculpted into the mountainside. Hundreds, maybe thousands of these small beings moved along the ledges carrying tools, guiding children living ordinary lives in extraordinary architecture. And that city sat squarely in the planned blast zone for tomorrow's mining operation. Oliver's heart sank. Galactic law was clear. A discovery of sentient indigenous life required immediate suspension of all industrial activity. A full xenological assessment had to be conducted. But Recti's reputation was just as clear. They would deny, cover up, and bulldoze through anything standing between them and profit. He had witnessed similar tactics on smaller scales, but this was different. This was a civilization. For the first time in weeks, Oliver felt adrenaline sharpen his senses. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a witness to something incredible, and perhaps the only one capable of preventing its destruction. The next morning confirmed his fears. Oliver had barely finished another regulator check when the sound of engines thundered through the canyon. He sprinted outside, shielding his eyes against the glare. 3 corporate skimmers streaked across the sky, sleek frames bristling with weapon ports. Security vessels. A mechanized voice blared through amplified speakers. "Attention indigenous population. This area has been designated for resource extraction by the Recti Corporation. You have 1 standard hour to evacuate before clearance procedures begin." Oliver froze in horror. The blue-skinned inhabitants didn't scatter away from danger. They rushed deeper into their mountain homes, misunderstanding the threat entirely. Mothers gathered children, elders ushered groups inside, unaware that demolition charges could collapse their entire city in minutes. Without thinking, Oliver jumped into his own skimmer and shot forward, engines howling, as he positioned himself directly between the security craft and the city. His communicator crackled as he broadcast across the open channel. "This is Oliver Conincade Mechanical Division. Stand down immediately. This is a violation of Galactic Treaty Section 7, protection of sentient indigenous populations." The lead skimmer hesitated. Then a harsh reptilian voice replaced the automated tone. "Get out of the way, human. We have our orders." "And I've got mine," Oliver snapped, back his thumb, hovering over the emergency distress beacon. "Back off or I call in the Galactic Patrol. They'll love to hear about this." For a moment, only the hum of engines filled the canyon. Finally, the lead security craft peeled away, followed by the others. Their commander's hiss carried across the channel. "You've made a mistake, Conincade. The corporation doesn't forget." Oliver exhaled, realizing his knuckles had gone white, gripping the controls. He had bought time, nothing more. They would return, and next time they wouldn't retreat so easily. But for now, the city still stood. He guided his skimmer closer to the cliffs, heart pounding. Small figures gathered on a ledge, watching him with cautious eyes. One stepped forward, slightly taller than the rest, markings etched across his blue skin, armor glinting in the fading light. Clearly a leader. Oliver shut down the skimmer, raised his hands in the universal gesture of peace, and stepped onto the ledge. "I stopped them," he said slowly, knowing they couldn't understand his words, but hoping his tone conveyed sincerity. "But they'll be back." The leader studied him for a long moment, then gestured toward the retreating skimmers. His expression was unreadable, yet when he beckoned Oliver deeper into the mountain, the human knew this was only the beginning. The passageways carved into the canyon walls seemed alive with light. As Oliver followed the alien leader deeper inside, faint blue luminescence traced patterns across the stone. At first, he thought they were embedded crystals or bioluminescent fungi, but closer inspection revealed intricate designs, lines and swirls that pulse softly, almost like veins under skin. Whatever their origin, they served as both illumination and decoration, giving the tunnels an ethereal glow. The air grew cooler as they descended, a welcome contrast to the scorching surface. Oliver ducked under a low archway, careful not to scrape his head against the stone ceiling. Despite their small size, the luminary had crafted corridors surprisingly wide, as though anticipating visitors of larger stature. The leader glanced back once, his large, reflective eyes holding Oliver's gaze for a heartbeat, before continuing on. The gesture was simple, but it spoke of curiosity rather than hostility. As they walked, figures began to emerge from side passages. Slender beings with luminous blue skin, their features fine and symmetrical. Some wore simple garments of woven metallic fibers, others donned armor-like plating fashioned from dark stone and alloys Oliver didn't recognize. Children darted forward, giggling in high-pitched voices, daring to brush their tiny hands against Oliver's gray jumpsuit before retreating behind their elders. For a moment, Oliver forgot the danger outside. He was walking through a living city, one hidden from the galaxy for generations. The tunnel widened abruptly into a breathtaking chamber. Oliver stopped dead in his tracks. Before him stretched an entire underground metropolis. Balconies and platforms jutted from the rock face in ascending tiers, each connected by bridges of glowing fiber. Water cascaded from an unseen source above, caught in reservoirs where more bioluminescent plants grew in profusion. The cavern roof soared hundreds of feet overhead, supported by carved pillars that blended seamlessly with natural stone formations. It was a marvel of engineering and artistry. To Oliver's mechanic's eye, it was also practical. Natural insulation, maintained temperature, water systems, recycled efficiently, light sources drew from some kind of bioelectric grid. Every detail spoke of a society both ingenious and sustainable. The leader gestured toward the city with a sweeping arm. Oliver let out a low whistle. "Incredible," he murmured. His words meant nothing to them, but the awe in his voice seemed to translate universally. A group of elders approached, their skin etched with deeper markings that glowed faintly in the dim light. They carried themselves with quiet dignity, eyes sharp with intelligence. The leader exchanged rapid gestures with them, movements too precise to be random. Oliver's translator implant struggled, producing only fragments, protector, machines, skyfall, enough to understand that his intervention against the security skimmers had not gone unnoticed. One of the elders pointed toward Oliver's chest, then made a cutting gesture across his throat. He didn't need a translator for that. "Yeah," Oliver muttered grimly, "the corporation's coming back, and they won't be bluffing next time." Despite the language barrier, a fragile bridge of trust formed. They guided him deeper still into chambers that revealed more of their culture. He passed workshops where artisans shaped alloys with tools that hummed in frequencies beyond human hearing. He glimpsed schools where small groups of children sat cross-legged while a teacher traced glowing patterns in the air, each symbol lingering like a hologram. He even saw warriors training with staff-like weapons that emitted bursts of controlled energy at each strike. Everywhere the people watched him with wide-eyed curiosity. Their expressions ranged from suspicion to wonder, but not once did he sense fear. That struck him as unusual. In his experience, most alien species reacted to humans with wariness or outright hostility. Yet these small blue beings seemed open, receptive, almost as if they had been waiting for someone like him. Eventually, the leader halted before an immense circular chamber. The ceiling formed a perfect dome, its surface carved with constellations Oliver didn't recognize. In the center rose a column of pure light stretching floor to ceiling, pulsing gently like a living heart. Suspended within the light were objects, metallic fragments, crystalline structures rotating slowly as though caught in invisible currents. Oliver's breath caught. "What the hell is this?" The leader stepped into the glow without hesitation. His hand entered the light, and instead of burning it, seemed to merge with it. Instantly, the floating fragments shifted, aligning into a coherent shape, what Oliver's trained eye recognized as a propulsion system, though far more advanced than anything humans had designed. The leader withdrew his hand, then pointed firmly at Oliver. You want me to try? Oliver asked, incredulous. His heart pounded. Whatever that column was, it clearly wasn't just a light show. He extended his hand slowly. The instant his fingers touched, the glow warmth surged up his arm. Instead of pain, a flood of understanding rushed into his mind, concepts of engineering energy flow, structural harmonics ideas so complex they bypassed language entirely. His knees buckled as comprehension slammed into him like a tidal wave. When he finally pulled his hand free, he staggered back, gasping. That's impossible. It's a knowledge archive. Pure engineering encoded directly into energy. The leader's expression remained calm but expectant. He pointed upward toward the stars. Oliver's eyes widened. You're not native, are you? You came here from somewhere else. A nod confirmed it. The people he had stumbled upon were descendants of travelers who had crash-landed generations ago. Their technology, though partially preserved, had been hidden within this luminous archive. Oliver looked back at the column, all battling with excitement. This wasn't just about saving them, it was about unlocking knowledge that could leapfrog human science by centuries. Before he could ask further questions, movement drew his attention. A smaller figure stepped into the chamber, her presence immediately commanding. She was different. Her blue skin shimmered with a faint inner glow more luminous than the others. Her silvery white hair cascaded in intricate braids woven with metallic threads. She wore a gown of bronze-gold fabric that caught the chamber's light, with every step hugging her form in ways that highlighted both elegance and strength. Her violet eyes met Oliver's, and for a moment he felt pinned in place. They were unlike any eyes he had ever seen, deep, intelligent, and somehow piercing straight through to his soul. The leader gestured between them. His words came haltingly through the translator, knowledge keeper, help human. She inclined her head gracefully. Then in perfect, though accented standard, she said, I speak your language. My people believe you can save us, Oliver Conincade. Oliver blinked. After hours of struggling with incomplete translations, hearing clear words was almost shocking. You speak standard. Not all of it, she admitted, her voice melodic. But enough. I am Naya, daughter of Chief Torin, keeper of ancestral knowledge. If you truly wish to aid us, you must learn quickly. Time is short. Her presence shifted the entire atmosphere. The warriors straightened, the elders exchanged approving glances. Oliver realized she wasn't just another member of their people, she was their brightest mind, perhaps their future. And she was looking at him with a mixture of hope and challenge. Naya stepped closer to the column of light, her delicate hands moving with practiced ease. The fragments within reassembled into a defensive lattice structure. Our ancestors designed this technology to shield vessels during interstellar travel, she explained. With your help, we may adapt it to protect our city from the corporation's weapons. Oliver stared at her fingers as they danced through the energy. She wasn't just interacting, she was conducting, coaxing, shaping the knowledge into usable form. When she looked back at him, her violet eyes glowed faintly with reflected light. Will you help us humans, she asked. Oliver swallowed hard. Moments ago, he had been a mechanic exiled to a backwater world. Now he stood at the center of a hidden civilization, asked to become their defender by a woman who looked both alien and mesmerizingly human. His answer came without hesitation. Yes, whatever it takes. Oliver barely slept that night. Even within the cool sanctuary of the Luminary Caverns, the echo of the security skimmer's threat still rang in his ears. He sat on a stone bench, staring at the faint glow of the walls, thinking of what awaited at dawn. He had stood up to recti once, but they would return, and next time they would not back down. Naya found him in the early hours, her silver-white braids glimmering faintly under the bioluminescent light. She carried a tray of fruits that shimmered like liquid crystals, offering them with a soft smile. You need strength, she said simply. Oliver accepted one biting into its sweet, tangy flesh. I need more than strength, he muttered. I need a miracle. They'll come back with more ships, more guns. Nia sat beside him, her presence calm but firm. We have knowledge. You have courage. Together, perhaps, that is miracle enough. He almost laughed at the simplicity of her faith. Yet there was something grounding about it. Courage. Knowledge. Maybe that really was enough. By midday, the hum of engines shattered any illusion of peace. Dust plumes rose from the canyon floor as not 3 but a dozen security skimmers swept in, flanking a larger craft, an angular vessel bristling with weapon ports. Its belly carried demolition charges heavy enough to split entire mountains. Oliver's blood ran cold. Damn it, they're bringing the big toys. He and Naya had been working feverishly at the knowledge column for hours, sketching designs for a defensive shield. But the amplifiers were incomplete, scattered fragments of technology that needed time to align. Time they no longer had. Chief Torin entered the chamber armored and grim, his eyes fixed on Oliver. The corporation returns. You stood against them once. Will you stand again? Oliver rose, wiping sweat and grease from his hands. I'll do more than stand, but we'll need to bluff. Buy time. Nia touched his arm, violet eyes intense. Be careful, their weapons are not bluffs. Moments later, Oliver was back in the pilot's seat of his skimmer, flying into the canyon mouth where the corporate fleet waited. Dust swirled around him, the looming demolition craft casting long shadows. His comm crackled before he even spoke. This is Director Malk, a cold, modulated voice announced. Human, you are interfering with corporate operations. Stand down or be designated hostile. Oliver's jaw tightened. These people are sentient. You know the treaty. Galactic law says you can't touch them. Malk's voice oozed disdain. They are squatters, not citizens. Recti owns this rock. You're an employee, Mr. Conincade, one who has already overstepped his assignment. Oliver smirked bitterly. Then consider this my resignation. Silence followed, then laughter grating mechanical. You are a fool. Do you think the patrol will side with a mechanic over a corporation with chartered rights? I think the patrol will love the evidence I've collected, Oliver shot back, hovering his finger over the distress beacon. Try me. The canyon trembled as the demolition craft powered its engines. Skimmers spread into an attack formation, weapons warming. Oliver's heart pounded. He was one man in a borrowed skimmer, outnumbered, outgunned. But he had something they didn't: desperation and a cause worth dying for. Before the first shot fired, the luminary struck. Warriors burst from hidden crevices along the canyon walls, their small frames darting like shadows. They hurled energy projectiles from staff-like weapons beams that splashed harmlessly against the skimmers, but created bursts of blinding light. The maneuver was distraction, not destruction. Oliver seized the moment. He gunned his engines, flying dangerously close to the lead skimmer, weaving between its firing arcs. Sparks showered as his skimmer scraped against its hull. The reptilian pilot inside snarled through the comms, but Oliver ignored him. Think Oliver, think, he muttered. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't armed with missiles or plasma cannons. But he was a mechanic, and every machine had weaknesses. His eyes darted to the demolition craft's underside where the charge clamps glowed faintly. Overload them and the weapon wouldn't fire, or it might explode prematurely. Either way, it bought time. He dove beneath the massive vessel engines, screaming. His diagnostic pad flashed warnings as he bypassed safety locks, rerouting his skimmer's tools into a makeshift EMP emitter. It wasn't designed for combat, but improvisation had always been his strength. The emitter discharged with a pulse of blue light. For a split second, nothing happened. Then the demolition clamps flickered their glow, sputtering before shutting down entirely. The craft lurched, alarms wailing across the comm channel. Sabotage, Director Malk roared. Oliver grinned grimly. Just maintenance. But victory was temporary. 3 skimmers broke formation, peeling toward him. Plasma bolts lit the canyon, searing past his hull. Oliver twisted, dodging by inches, the force of each near miss rattling his bones. He pushed the skimmer to its limits, sensors shrieking in protest. Oliver Nia's voice came through his comm, relayed by some unknown luminary system. Fall back, we can't lose you. Not an option. He gasped, sweat pouring down his temples. Just keep working on that shield. His skimmer jolted as a plasma round grazed the rear stabilizer. Warning lights flared. Smoke filled the cockpit. He coughed, gripping the controls tighter. Damn it, hold together. The canyon walls blurred as he swerved into narrower passageways, forcing the pursuing skimmers to split apart. One clipped a rock spire and spiraled down in flames. Oliver didn't cheer, he barely had time to breathe. The remaining 2 pressed harder. They were faster, their targeting systems more precise. Oliver's craft screamed as energy bolts slammed against the hull. He veered sharply, engines straining until suddenly the walls opened back into the cavern mouth. And there they were, dozens of luminary lining the ledges, watching. Warriors stood ready with weapons. Children clutched their elders' eyes wide. They had trusted him, placed their faith in him. He couldn't fail them now. Oliver slammed his skimmer into a dive engine's flaring. The pursuing crafts followed instinctively. At the last second, he pulled up, scraping against the cliff wall. The lead pursuer overcorrected, smashing into the canyon side with a violent explosion. The last skimmer fired wildly, bolts striking dangerously close to the city's ledges. No, Oliver roared. Rage gave him strength. He looped back, slamming his skimmer directly against the enemy's side. Metal shrieked. Both crafts spiraled together in a deadly dance. At the final moment, Oliver ejected, tumbling onto a narrow ledge as the two skimmers crashed in a fiery blossom below. His body ached, breath ragged, but he was alive. And the city, against all odds, still stood. Chief Torrin himself hauled Oliver to his feet, the elder's small but steady hands surprisingly strong. "You fight as one of us," Torrin said through the translator voice, solemn. "Our people live today because of your courage." Oliver winced, clutching his bruised ribs. "Don't thank me yet. They'll be back. And next time they won't underestimate us." Naya rushed forward, eyes wide with worry. She pressed her hands against his injuries, a faint warmth spreading from her touch. "You risked everything," she whispered. He met her gaze, exhaustion melting under the intensity of her violet eyes. "So did you, sending your warriors out there knowing they might not return." Her lips curved faintly. "That is why we must succeed together." Oliver nodded. Together. That word had never felt so heavy or so right. As night fell, the canyon lay silent, save for the crackle of fires from wrecked skimmers. Oliver stood on a balcony overlooking the city, bandaged but unbowed. Behind him, the knowledge column pulsed steadily, a heartbeat of ancient wisdom waiting to be harnessed. He clenched his fists. Rek'Tai would come back stronger with more ships and more weapons. He couldn't outfly them forever. But maybe, just maybe, he and Nia could outthink them. For the first time in his life, Oliver felt not like a stranded mechanic, but like a soldier in a war far larger than himself. A war he could not afford to lose. The fires of the canyon battle had barely died down when the luminary city stirred back to life. Repair crews clambered along damaged ledges, reinforcing weakened walkways. Warriors hauled the remains of enemy skimmers into hidden chambers, dismantling them for scrap. The entire society moved with quiet efficiency, each member contributing without hesitation. Oliver leaned against a carved stone railing, his ribs aching beneath fresh bandages. He had been patched up by the luminary healers, gentle hands pressing poultices that glowed faintly as though alive. Whatever compounds they used dulled the pain and left him more mobile than he had any right to be after surviving a midair crash. Chief Torrin approached his armor, gleaming in the bioluminescent light. "You bought us time," the elder said gravely. His words, filtered through the translator, carried the weight of generations. "But time is not enough. We must prepare for the storm that follows." Oliver nodded, glancing toward the knowledge column's faint glow visible through an archway. "Then we build the shield, before they come back with something bigger." Torrin inclined his head. "My daughter will guide you." Inside the great chamber, Nia stood already at work. The column of light pulsed rhythmically, fragments of alien technology spinning within like the gears of a cosmic engine. Her delicate hands moved in precise patterns, coaxing components into new shapes. Bronze gold fabric clung to her small frame, catching the glow with every motion. She looked less like a scholar and more like a conductor orchestrating an unseen symphony. Oliver approached cautiously. He still felt the lingering warmth of her touch from before when she had healed his injuries. Something about being near her quickened his pulse. She turned as if sensing him, violet eyes luminous. "You are hurt." "I've been worse," Oliver said with a crooked smile. "Besides, I don't think pain matters much when an army's breathing down your neck." Naya tilted her head, studying him. "Most would retreat. You advance." "That's kind of a human thing," Oliver admitted. "We don't know when to quit." Her lips curved faintly. "Perhaps that is why you were brought to us." For hours they worked together. Oliver plunged his hands into the knowledge column, the strange warmth enveloping him. Again, torrents of raw information surged into his mind. Schematics, energy flow diagrams, construction sequences. At first, the flood nearly overwhelmed him, but Naya steadied him with her presence. Breathe with it, she instructed, her voice soft yet commanding. Do not resist. Let the current carry you. He obeyed, and gradually the chaos resolved into clarity. Shapes formed intricate as clockwork. Yet alive with energy, together he and Naya guided fragments into alignment, weaving them into crystalline amplifiers. These will anchor the shield. She explained, her fingers brushing his as they shifted a glowing fragment. Sparks of energy leapt between them, tingling against his skin. Both froze at the contact, eyes locking. For a heartbeat too long, neither moved. Oliver cleared his throat and focused back on the column. How many do we need? 4, Nia replied, though her voice carried a note of distraction. Placed at the cardinal points of the canyon. When aligned, they will generate a barrier strong enough to repel even heavy weapons. Sounds simple, Oliver muttered, though he knew better. She smiled faintly. Simple is rarely easy. As they worked, Oliver's curiosity gnawed at him. This technology, your ancestors built it. Nia shook her head, braids shimmering. We are their children, not their equals. Once the luminary traveled among the stars. Our ship, the Star Weaver, carried us through countless systems. But when it was damaged beyond repair, our ancestors chose survival over wandering. They hid their knowledge in this column, hoping one day their descendants would reclaim it. And now you want me to use it, Oliver said slowly. You are different, Naya said simply. Most who touch the column gain only fragments. You absorb it whole. My people believe this is no accident. Oliver frowned. Or maybe it's just because I'm stubborn enough to wrestle with alien tech until it gives up. Naya laughed softly, a sound like music echoing through the chamber. Perhaps, but stubbornness can be destiny. Hours stretched into night. The amplifiers took shape, sleek crystalline devices humming with power. Oliver marveled at their design, a fusion of alien elegance and mechanical precision. He could almost hear the hum of potential in their cores. When at last the 4th was complete, Nia sank onto a carved bench, her chest rising and falling quickly. Sweat glistened on her skin, but her eyes remained bright. Oliver sat beside her, equally exhausted. We did it, he murmured. Naya nodded, gazing at the amplifiers with quiet pride. Then she turned to him. Tomorrow we place them. Tonight we must rest. But neither moved. They sat in silence, shoulders brushing the glow of the column, casting soft light over their faces. Oliver felt a strange certainty settle over him that this connection forged in desperation was already something deeper than chance. The next morning dawned with a sky painted in hues of green and violet. Clouds gathered on the horizon, promising storms. Oliver and Nia prepared with grim determination. Each amplifier was loaded onto skimmers guarded by luminary warriors. At the canyon's mouth, Oliver paused, tightening the straps on his pack. North and east for me, south and west for you. Naya inclined her head. It is fastest this way, but... She hesitated, then rose on her toes, pressing her lips briefly against his. The kiss was fleeting yet electric, sending warmth racing through Oliver's veins. She pulled back, cheeks darkening with a faint blush. Be careful. You too, he whispered, still stunned. Then they parted, each taking their path. The climb to the northern ridge tested every ounce of Oliver's endurance. The canyon winds howled, tugging at his jumpsuit. Dust stung his eyes. Yet he pressed on amplifier, strapped to his back, determination burning hotter than fatigue. At last he reached the carved anchor point, a shallow recess etched with glowing symbols. He fitted the amplifier into place, its hum resonating with the stone. Energy flared, a ripple spreading outward like a heartbeat. 1 down, he muttered. 3 to go. By the time he placed the eastern anchor, his muscles screamed. He dropped to his knees, chest heaving. Through the calm, Nia's voice crackled. South and west anchors, ready. Oliver grinned despite his exhaustion. Then let's light this thing up. Back in the city, the knowledge column pulsed wildly, resonating with the amplifiers. A low hum vibrated through the mountain as streams of energy connected, weaving an invisible lattice around the canyon. Oliver and Nia returned to the central chamber, placing their hands side by side into the column. Now, Nia whispered, Energy surged, cascading through them both. Oliver gasped as knowledge and sensation intertwined, a rush of connection, deeper than anything physical. His mind brushed against hers, images, emotions, fragments of thought. She gasped too, eyes wide, then softened. You feel it? Yeah, Oliver breathed. It's incredible. Together they guided the energy outward. The amplifiers blazed, streams converging. Outside, a shimmering dome of light rose, expanding until it encompassed the entire city. Weapons fire from returning skimmers splashed against the barrier, dispersing into bursts of color. The shield held. Cheers erupted throughout the cavern. Children danced, elders clasped hands, warriors raised their weapons in triumph. For the first time, the luminary felt safe. But inside the column, Oliver and Nia remained locked in their shared connection. Their hands brushed, lingering. Their thoughts twined, curiosity, relief, attraction. You're looking at me again, Nia murmured through both voice and thought. Oliver flushed. Can't help it. She smiled, eyes luminous. Good. Neither can I. Before he could respond, an explosion rocked the cavern, dust raining from the ceiling. The recti weren't finished. They had brought heavier weapons, pounding the shield with relentless fire. The dome rippled, strained, but held. Nia gripped Oliver's hand tighter. We must hold together. And so they did, two beings from different worlds, united by a bond neither could fully explain, but both knew was only growing stronger. The shield shimmered above the canyon like a dome of liquid light. Its surface rippled with every impact as recti skimmers unleashed plasma volleys, bolts dispersing into bursts of color that lit the twilight sky. From his vantage point on the eastern ridge, Oliver felt each tremor through the amplifier's hum, vibrations echoing in his bones. They're testing it, he muttered grimly into his calm. Yes, Nia's voice replied, calm yet urgent. They will not stop until they break it. The shield is strong but not unbreakable. We must reinforce the flow. Oliver wiped sweat from his brow, glancing at the amplifier's crystal surface. Energy pulsed steadily, but he could sense the strain building like pressure in a boiler. If one anchor failed, the entire dome would collapse. I'm coming back to you, he said. Good, she answered. We are stronger together. He raced back through winding tunnels, boots pounding stone lungs, burning. When he emerged into the great chamber, Nia was already there, standing in the glow of the knowledge column. Her silver-white hair shimmered with static energy, her violet eyes blazing with focus. She extended her hand. Join me. Oliver didn't hesitate. He plunged his palm into the column beside hers. Immediately, the flood of energy consumed him again, but this time he wasn't alone. Their minds brushed, then merged, not seamlessly, but with startling force. Images flashed, his memories of Earth's crowded stations, her childhood in luminous caverns, his grief at leaving friends behind, her longing for a future beyond hiding. Emotions bled together, fear, hope, desire. Oliver gasped, Nia, this is the bond, she whispered aloud, her voice layered with thought. It is beginning. Outside, the battle intensified. Recti had deployed heavier artillery, ground-mounted cannons, dragged into position along the canyon floor. Their blasts struck the shield in rhythmic pulses, each impact sending ripples racing across its surface. Cracks of light flared briefly before knitting back together. They're trying to find the frequency, Oliver realized. They'll tune their cannons to destabilize the barrier. Then we must shift faster than they can calculate, Nia replied, her slender fingers moving through the column's glow. Oliver mirrored her motions, instinctively adapting. Where she guided with elegance, he adjusted with raw mechanical pragmatism, patching, rerouting, overloading circuits. Together they became something greater. Her precision balanced by his improvisation, her knowledge amplified by his stubborn intuition. The shield brightened its ripples, smoothing into seamless arcs. For a moment, the cannon fire scattered harmlessly like raindrops on glass. Cheers echoed from the city below, but Oliver barely heard them. All he felt was Nia's presence beside him, her mind entwined with his. Their synchronization deepened. When their hands brushed within the column, sparks of energy surged, sending jolts of warmth through their bodies. Oliver felt his heartbeat quicken, not just from strain, but from the undeniable pull between them. You feel it too, he thought, not daring to voice it aloud. Yes, her mental voice answered without hesitation. Your pulse, your desire, your fear. I feel it all, and I give you mine. Another cannon blast shook the mountain. The shield shuddered, then steadied as they reinforced it. Sweat streaked down Oliver's temple, mingling with the faint glow of Naya's aura as she leaned closer, her small frame trembling, yet unyielding. Most outsiders cannot survive bonding with the column, she murmured aloud, breathless. It overwhelms them. But you thrive in it. You adapt. Oliver managed a strained grin. Guess stubbornness really is my superpower. Nia laughed softly even as her hands moved faster. Then let us be stubborn together. Suddenly the chamber doors burst open. A group of luminary warriors rushed in their armor scarred from battle. Their leader shouted in their language gestures, sharp with urgency. The translator sputtered fragments, breach, Western Ridge, enemy forces inside. Oliver cursed, they've landed troops. If they take out one of the amplifiers, the shield will fall. Naya finished grimly. Oliver turned to her. I'll hold the line, you keep this going. But she caught his arm, violet eyes burning. No, we fight together. Before he could argue, she drew a slender staff from the wall, its tip glowing faintly. She twirled it with practiced ease, her movements fluid and precise. For the first time, Oliver saw not just the scholar, but the warrior beneath. You're full of surprises, he said, grabbing a discarded plasma rifle from a fallen skimmer part. She smirked faintly. So are you. They raced through tunnels toward the Western Ridge. The sound of battle grew louder. Plasma bolts crackling, stone splintering under impact. When they emerged, Oliver's stomach tightened. A squad of reptilian soldiers armored and hulking had breached the ledge where one amplifier pulsed weakly. Luminary defenders fought desperately, but were being pushed back. Without hesitation, Oliver raised the rifle and fired. The blast caught one soldier square in the chest, sending him sprawling. Naya darted forward, staff striking with bursts of concentrated light that cracked armor plates. Together, they waded into the melee. Oliver fought with brute strength, swinging the rifle stock when shots ran dry, grappling with foes twice his size. Naya fought with precision, every strike disabling every movement efficient. And when their backs touched, moving in perfect unison, it felt less like chance and more like destiny. One soldier lunged for the amplifier. Oliver tackled him, fists pounding until the reptilian stilled. Breathing hard, he staggered back. The amplifier glowed brighter, stabilized by his proximity by their bond. They're retreating, a luminary warrior cried as the remaining soldiers scrambled back toward the canyon floor. Oliver leaned on his knees, panting. That was too close. Nia touched his shoulder, her gaze soft but fierce. We protected it. We protect each other. When they returned to the central chamber, their exhaustion was visible. Yet the shield still held, glowing stronger than before. The people cheered, voices echoing through the caverns. For the first time, hope surged like fire among them. But Oliver felt something else burning inside him, something deeper. He turned to Naya, words stumbling. I don't know how to explain this, but when I fight beside you, when I'm with you, it's like I'm more than myself. Nia's violet eyes softened. That is the bond. It is not just minds that join, but spirits. You are part of me now, as I am of you. Before he could respond, she reached up her small, blue hand, cupping his jaw. Among my people, this moment is sacred. When two fight as one, bleed as one, and survive as one, the ritual demands completion. Oliver's pulse thundered, completion. Her lips curved in a smile, both tender and daring, bonding, fully, mind, body, and soul. Later, in her private chambers carved high above the city, the ritual began. Unlike the luminous ceremony, Oliver imagined it was intimate, raw, and profoundly human in its simplicity. They touched hands within the glow of a smaller crystal energy intertwining. Memories poured between them, his childhood laughter on Earth, her first steps in glowing caverns, his loneliness, drifting in orbital stations, her yearning for starlight. And then beyond thought, beyond memory, there was only sensation, the press of lips, the warmth of skin, the shared heartbeat that echoed in both chests. At the height of their union, Naya's skin glowed with radiant light, illuminating the chamber in soft waves. Oliver felt her energy merge with his, not consuming, not overwhelming, but embracing. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man drifting through meaningless assignments. He felt chosen, anchored, alive. When they finally collapsed together, breathless, Her silver hair spilled across his chest, her violet eyes gazing up at him with unguarded affection. Now she whispered, "We are truly bonded." Oliver kissed her forehead, unable to hide his smile. "Guess I really do have a wife now." Her laughter, melodic and unrestrained, filled the chamber. A mate, a partner, a protector, all of it. Morning came with the faint chime of alerts echoing through the mountain. Oliver stirred Naya, curled against him, the glow of their bond still pulsing faintly. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You're thinking loudly again," she murmured sleepily. He chuckled. "Just thinking I wouldn't trade this for the whole galaxy." She smiled. "Then we will fight to keep it." Outside, the shield still shimmered, but the distant rumble of engines warned that Rektai wasn't finished. Heavy cruisers were entering orbit. The battle had only begun. And this time Oliver and Nia would face it not as strangers, not as allies, but as one. The shield hummed like a living thing above the canyon, its iridescent dome holding firm against the relentless assault. From the mountain ledges, Oliver watched Rektai's forces withdraw, slightly regrouping at the far end of the canyon. Their skimmers hovered in disciplined rows, and behind them the demolition craft powered down its cannons, smoke curling from overheated coils. It was not retreat, it was a pause. Oliver clenched his fists. They're waiting for something. Beside him, Naya tilted her head, violet eyes narrowing. Reinforcements. Her instincts proved right. Hours later, the sky itself trembled and 3 massive shadows descended through the upper atmosphere. Rektai heavy cruisers bristling with weaponry engines, burning trails of fire as they positioned above the canyon. Their presence was suffocating, each one a floating fortress capable of raising cities. Murmurs rippled through the luminary crowds gathered in the city's plazas. Fear, even under the shield, was palpable. Oliver felt it pressing against his own chest, amplified by the faint empathic bond he now shared with Nia. Their people were terrified, and rightly so. "We can't hold against that," Oliver muttered. "Then perhaps we will not have to," Chief Torn replied grimly. The elder had appeared silently, flanked by armored guards. His gaze lifted toward the cruisers. Another ship approaches. Oliver followed his gaze. Cutting through the atmosphere, sleek and unmistakable, came a silver and blue vessel bearing the crest of the Galactic Patrol. Unlike the predatory cruisers, this ship exuded authority, its lines elegant, its presence commanding. Oliver's heart leapt. The distress call, they actually came. The patrol cruiser touched down at the canyon floor, its landing struts sinking into dust. The Rektai forces pulled back slightly, weapons still aimed but no longer firing. A tense silence settled over the battlefield, the kind that came before history-changing words. Chief Torrin looked at Oliver and Naya. "You must meet them. They will listen to you more than to us." Nia placed her small blue hand over Oliver's. "Together," she said simply. Together they descended from the mountain. A small opening appeared in the shield, allowing them to step into the canyon where the silver cruiser waited. The hatch opened with a hiss, and a figure emerged, a tall, dark-skinned human woman clad in the crisp silver and blue uniform of the interstellar peacekeeping force. Her short-cropped hair framed sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. She strode forward with the confidence of one accustomed to command. "I am Commander Pax Hrix of the Galactic Patrol," she announced. Her voice carried authority, crisp and clear. "We received a distress signal citing violations of the Indigenous Protection Act." Oliver stepped forward, nerves taut but voice steady. "That was me. Oliver Conincade, formerly of Rektai's Mechanical Division. I quit when they tried to demolish an inhabited settlement." He gestured toward the mountain behind him. "The Luminari have lived here for generations. Rektai knew and tried to wipe them out anyway." Hrix's piercing gaze flicked to Nia. "And you are Naya, daughter of Chief Torrin, knowledge keeper of the Luminary," she said proudly. Her voice was melodic, even in standard, her violet eyes unwavering. She added without hesitation and made of Oliver Conincade. Oliver felt his cheeks flush, but he didn't deny it. Instead, he placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Commander Hrix's expression barely changed, though Oliver thought he saw a flicker of surprise. "I see. The situation is more complex than initial reports indicated." The moment was shattered by a harsh voice from across the canyon. A Rektai delegation approached, led by a spindly alien with mottled green-gray skin and multiple eye stalks. His robe gleamed with corporate insignia. Oliver recognized him instantly. Director Malk, he muttered, his stomach twisting. The alien spread his arms in a mockery of welcome. Commander Hicks, how fortunate you arrived. We've been dealing with sabotage, theft, and insubordination from this human. He has endangered valuable corporate assets and tampered with proprietary technology. Oliver bristled. Proprietary technology? You mean the shield that's keeping you from slaughtering an entire civilization? Malk's eye stalks twitched irritably. These are not an indigenous civilization. They are interlopers, survivors of a crash no more than 5 generations ago. The law is clear. Indigenous rights require millennia of habitation. These squatters have none. The words sliced through Oliver like a blade. Legally, Malk wasn't entirely wrong. The act had precise criteria, and the luminary might not meet them. He glanced at Naya, whose expression remained serene despite the insult. She stepped forward, lifting one hand. The shield above them rippled, forming complex geometric patterns in the air, mathematical precision that shimmered for all to see. Primitive, she said coldly. Does this look primitive to you? The commander's eyes widened slightly at the display. Director Malk, however, only sneered. Stolen technology, no doubt reverse engineered from our research. This human gave it to them. Oliver barked a laugh. That's rich. Your corporation couldn't design a toaster without an instruction manual. The luminary are light years ahead of you. Commander Hicks raised her hand sharply. Enough. I've heard enough to justify a full investigation. Director Mouse, until this is resolved, your forces will stand down. No further aggression against the luminary settlement is permitted. Malk's voice turned venomous. You have no authority to suspend legally granted mining rights. On the contrary, Hicks replied coolly, I have every authority to suspend operations pending investigation of treaty violations. Cooperate or Recti faces sanctions. Grumbling Malk retreated, though not without a final glare at Oliver. Relief washed through Oliver, but it was short-lived. Commander Hicks turned back to him and Naya. The problem remains. The luminary do not qualify as indigenous under current statutes. Without that designation, I cannot guarantee long-term protection. Oliver felt Naya's small hand tighten around his. He sensed her fear through their bond, but also her faith in him. There is another option, Hicks continued. The Council recognizes certain groups as advanced non-indigenous cultures of scientific interest. If granted, this designation would protect you fully, but it requires cooperation access to your technology for study. Chief Torrin had joined them now, his expression cautious. You would make our knowledge property of the Council. Not property, Hicks corrected. Shared. Studied under your supervision. It is the price of protection. Oliver sensed Nia's unease. To offer their sacred knowledge was no small thing. He took a breath, mind racing. Then the thought struck him, simple, audacious human. There's another option, Oliver said. All eyes turned to him. Make it a joint colony, human and luminary together. I'm a citizen of Earth, a member world with significant influence. If I formally request settlement rights alongside the luminary, it creates a legal precedent protected under multiple treaties. Recti can't touch us without crossing Earth. Silence followed, heavy and stunned. Hicks arched an eyebrow. Unorthodox, Mr. Conincade. Oliver shrugged. So is finding a wife in the middle of an assignment to fix atmospheric regulators? But sometimes the unorthodox works. He squeezed Naya's hand, and I'm not leaving her behind. For the first time, Commander Hicks allowed a small smile. It could work. A joint colony would fall under Earth's defense treaties. Recti would never risk direct confrontation with humanity. Chief Torrin stroked his chin thoughtfully. Partners, then. Not protectors, not subjects. Partners. He looked at Oliver with a rare warmth. Perhaps you are more luminary than you know. A chime from Hicks's officers cut the moment short. Commander Recti cruisers are repositioning, preparing for orbital bombardment. The air seemed to grow colder. Oliver's stomach dropped. Hicks turned sharply. Then we have little time. Chief Torrin, will you accept both the scientific designation for immediate protection and the joint colony status for permanence? Torrin looked to his daughter. Naya's violet eyes met Oliver's, their bond thrumming between them. She gave the slightest nod. Yes, Torrin said firmly. We accept. What followed was a blur of action. Hicks transmitted the designation request to Council headquarters, demanding emergency ratification. Her officers established a defensive perimeter, silver and blue armor, gleaming as they deployed heavy weapons against any Recti incursion. Recti cruisers prowled above their cannons, charging, but held in check by the patrol's presence. In the mountain city, the people celebrated cautiously. For the first time, they had recognition, protection, and thanks to Oliver, a future beyond survival. That evening in a hall carved near the summit, Chief Torrin rose before his people. Oliver Conincate has stood with us. He has fought, bled, and risked his life. By his courage, we are not only safe, but joined to the wider galaxy. It is right that he become one of us. And it is right that he stand beside my daughter Naya as her chosen. The hall erupted in trills of approval. Oliver blinked stunned. He glanced at Naya, whose cheeks darkened in a blush that somehow made her glow even brighter. My father means well, she whispered softly, leaning close. But you should know the choice is mine, and I have already made it. Oliver swallowed hard, overwhelmed. Then I guess I'm the luckiest mechanic in the galaxy. Her smile was radiant. No, you are mine, and that is far more than luck. But even as laughter and music filled the hall, the rumble of Recti engines reminded them the fight was not over. The cruisers waited above, hungry for revenge. For now, however, the people of the mountain had hope and a human who refused to let them fall. 3 months later, the canyon no longer echoed with the rumble of war machines, but with the sounds of construction, laughter, and life. Where once there had been fear and uncertainty, now there was a sense of purpose and hope. The joint human luminary colony thrived in ways no one could have imagined. Carved into the mountain's heart and spilling outward onto the canyon floor, new dwellings took shape. Human architects adapted luminary, bioluminescent materials to build hybrid home structures that shimmered with blue-green light, yet maintained the practicality of Earth-style engineering. Children played in open plazas beneath glowing crystal lanterns. Human scientists traded notes with luminary scholars at the knowledge column, both humbled and exhilarated by what they learned. And overhead, a massive presence dominated the skyline, the Star Weaver no longer dormant, now partially reactivated under Oliver's and Naya's guidance. Recti's defeat. The Recti Corporation, humiliated, had withdrawn completely from the system. The Galactic Council had issued its ruling within weeks, severe sanctions for treaty violations, revocation of mining rights, and crippling fines. Recti's shareholders screamed in outrage, but no one in the council dared side with them, not after the evidence presented by Commander Hicks, Oliver, and Nia. The 3 heavy cruisers that once threatened annihilation now sat rusting in impound docks, stripped of weapons. Their defeat wasn't won through battle, but through law, courage, and unity, a victory that carried more weight than any firefight. For Oliver, it was vindication. For the Luminary, it was survival. Together, it was a new beginning. Oliver's place. Oliver still thought of himself sometimes as just a mechanic. He walked through the colony streets with grease on his hands, sleeves rolled up, fixing atmospheric pumps or recalibrating generators. But when he looked up, he saw something far greater than bolts and circuits. He saw people blue-skinned and human building a shared destiny. Whenever doubts crept in, Nia's presence brushed his mind, a soft reminder through their empathic bond. She had chosen him, and through her, so had an entire people. You're still thinking too loudly, she teased one evening as they worked side by side on the Star Weaver's propulsion systems. Her violet eyes glimmered with amusement. Sorry, he grinned. Just trying to wrap my head around how the hell a mechanic from Jupiter Station ended up helping restart a starship that's been dormant for 5 generations. You did not just restart it, Nia corrected gently. You gave it breath again. Like you gave breath to my people. Oliver leaned back against the glowing hull, looking at her. You make me sound like a hero. You are, she replied simply, her small hand finding his. The bonding ceremony. When Chief Torrin finally declared the time right, the bonding ceremony became more than a personal rite. It became a political symbol. Delegates from the Galactic Patrol, representatives from Earth, and even neutral alien observers attended. The hall at the mountain's summit glowed with thousands of bioluminescent crystals, casting a celestial glow across the gathered crowd. Oliver wore a ceremonial cloak woven of metallic threads, its weight both literal and symbolic. Beside him, Nia was radiant in a gown of bronze gold fabric, interwoven with shimmering filaments that pulse softly with her heartbeat. Together they approached the knowledge column, hands joined. Chief Torrens spoke with solemn pride. Oliver Conincade, son of Earth, you came to us as a stranger. You became our shield, our voice, our partner. By your courage, my people live. By your bond with my daughter, our futures join. Do you accept this path not as duty but as choice? Oliver looked down at Naya, her violet eyes locked with his, filled with certainty. I do, he said, voice steady. Nia smiled, then turned to her father. And I, Nia, of the luminary knowledge keeper and daughter of Torren, choose him freely. By my will, my heart, and my spirit, he is my mate. Their hands plunged together into the column's energy. Light erupted, filling the chamber in cascading waves. Images of both their peoples appeared in the glow, human and luminary side by side, building, laughing, thriving. The crowd gasped, trilled, then erupted into celebration. Commander Hicks, watching from the front row, allowed herself the smallest smile. Even she, practical, hardened by politics, felt the weight of history being written. Private aftermath. Later, high above the colony in their private quarters, Oliver and Naya stood wrapped in each other's arms, gazing out the panoramic window. The twin moons rose, casting silver light across the canyon where fires of celebration still burned. Well, Oliver murmured, I think that officially makes me a husband, a colony founder and a political ambassador all in one day. Nia tilted her head, a teasing smile curving her lips. And how does it feel? He chuckled, kissing her forehead. Exhausting, amazing, terrifying, perfect. She nestled closer. You are not alone. That is the difference. Through their bond, he felt her love as clearly as his own heartbeat. It wasn't just words or even thoughts. It was a constant presence, warm and grounding. He squeezed her hand. Yeah, not alone anymore. The Star Weaver's awakening. Weeks later, the Star Weaver stirred. Under Oliver's and Naya's combined efforts, the propulsion core flared to life, filling the cavern with a deep, resonant hum. Bioluminescent panels across the ship's hull flickered, then shone steadily for the first time in centuries. The entire colony gathered to witness the event. Children clutched parents' hands, humans craned their necks, and luminary elders bowed their heads in reverence. Oliver stood with Naya on the command deck, his fingers dancing across controls he hadn't known existed a month ago, but now understood instinctively thanks to the knowledge column. She's alive, he whispered. Not just alive, Nia replied softly. Awake. The Star Weaver rose a few meters above its cradle engines, glowing, then settled back with a sigh like the breath of a titan. The people roared with joy, their voices echoing through the cavern. It was more than a ship. It was a symbol of survival, of partnership, of a future not bound by fear. Epilogue. A future shared. One evening, months into their new life, Oliver and Nia stood on the mountain balcony looking down at the thriving colony. Human and luminary banners fluttered together in the canyon wind. The air shimmered faintly with protective shields powered by the amplifiers they had built side by side. Naya leaned her head against his chest, her silver hair catching moonlight. Did you ever imagine this? She asked softly. Oliver laughed, shaking his head. Not in a million years. I just wanted to finish a contract and go home. Instead you have found a people. He kissed the top of her head. And a wife. Her violet eyes gleamed as she looked up at him. Mate, she corrected with a grin. But yes, and perhaps more than that, you found purpose. He nodded, feeling the truth of it settle deep in his bones. He had come to fix machines, but instead he had built a future. As the stars shimmered overhead, Oliver tightened his arm around Nia's shoulders. Together, they watched their world flourish beneath them. And for the first time, Oliver didn't feel like a wanderer or an outsider or a mechanic lost in someone else's war. He felt like exactly what he was meant to be. A protector, a partner, a founder of something that would outlast them both. And with Naya's hand in his, the galaxy no longer seemed like a vast empty void, but a place of infinite possibility.